Hello, internet viewers. I'm the fairly OddGamer. As most of you know, the new CGI Mario movie is coming out next month, so I figured the best way to prepare myself is to talk about the games that made our Italian plumber famous. But before I do, I wish I had a fitting wardrobe for this month. Perfect. So without further ado, this is
Not so fast, gamer.
Shadowflare? What are you doing here?
Come on, man. Did you really think you were going to do a Mario-themed month without me, the Mario guy?
Mario guy? I thought you were the horror guy.
I can be two things.
So, now what? Do I did for Sonic Classic Games Month and talk about Mario games together?
I mean, it seems like the opportune time. We got the movie coming out next month, plus Mario Day is just around the corner. It's a good time for Mario.
Alright, whatever you say. This is Marcio. So just out of curiosity, how did you get introduced to the Italian plumber himself?
Boy, that is thinking a long way back. I've been a Mario fan for as long as I can remember. First game in the series I completed on my own was Super Mario 64, and I've loved the series ever since.
I see. But before we get to the games, let's briefly remind ourselves how Mario started out. For those who haven't seen my Super Mario 64 review, then allow us to give you a quick synopsis. In 1981, an arcade game titled Donkey Kong was released. As Jumpman, you have to climb up an obstacle course as you try to rescue Pauline from the dirty hands of Donkey Kong. It wasn't until its American release that Miyamoto changed the name from Jumpman to Mario after his landlord, whose name is based on another video game company. Since the release of that review, the Super Nintendo World theme park has opened in Hollywood and will later open in Orlando 2 years later. And as mentioned before, the new CGI Mario movie is coming to theaters next month.
Donkey Kong was a smash hit in arcades, which eventually led to the Mario character getting his own game starring him and his brother Luigi, Mario Bros. No, not Super Mario Bros. We're not there yet. It was around this time that the home console market wasn't doing so well, but Nintendo took the plunge and released their own console, the NES, whose killer app would be a follow-up to Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros.
But it wasn't until 1985 when Super Mario Bros. Was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES for short in America, and the Famicom Disk System in Japan. For this review, I'll be looking at the game on the Nintendo Switch via Switch Online. Oh, so that's why Super Mario 3D All-Stars had a limited run. But does the game still hold up after almost 40 years? Jeez, we're getting old.
Don't remind me.
I had to, but let's get started anyway. Now, before you post anything in the comments, I haven't played most, if not all, of the classic Mario games, so bear with me on this.
This is going to be very fun to watch then.
Anyway, instead of plumbing, it's a 2D side-scroller in which you play as Mario as you venture through the Mushroom Kingdom. The game's plot is pretty simple, really. Mario has to save Princess Toadstool,
Peach,
from the evil claws of Bowser, or King Koopa, as he transports all the inhabitants into enemies and blocks via black magic? Either he's a magician, or it could be the foreshadowing of Nintendo seeing that Bowser's now in charge of it.
Could be from a Magic Koopa.
As Mario,
You died on the first Goomba. What are you, 4?
Well, I told you I haven't played any of the classic Mario games. Anyway, you have to venture through 8 worlds, 4 levels in each world, as you make your way to the end while avoiding or defeating obstacles and enemies. You can move Mario left and right with the D-pad, and holding down allows you to duck under certain obstacles. It can also be done by jumping with the A button, and jumping is key. Without it, you'll... Yeah, that. Oh, and holding the B button lets you run faster while moving, which is also key. Not only that, but it can also give you better momentum when making long jumps. But if you don't... Okay, we get it already.
You can also collect coins which add up to your score, and collecting 100 of them gives you an extra life. Speaking of which, you can also get extra lives by collecting a 1-Up mushroom. There's also other power-ups like the Super Mushroom, which makes you grow bigger and allows you to take an extra hit. And the Fire Flower, which lets you shoot fireballs, which will instantly take out just about any foe, except Fuzzy Beetles.
By the way, it's supposed to point out that these items can be found in boxes with question marks on them. By jumping onto them, it releases what's inside. Most of them are coins, but sometimes it can be those power-ups that Shadows mentioned. But without these power-ups... Enough already! Finally, we have the Starman giving him temporary invincibility.
I am invincible!
There's also pipes you can go down that can sometimes lead to bonus rooms where you can obtain more coins, and these rare vines. Mostly you can obtain more coins. but there's one occasion in which a vine can lead you to a warp zone. Yes, if you are the speedrunner type, there are secret warp zones that allow you to warp to another world. You can even skip to World 8 and World 4, and beating the game with that can take around 5 minutes if you know what you're doing.
Luckily, if you have a buddy along, you can play the game together via a 2-player game with the second player controlling Luigi. Ironically enough, the green shirt and white overall look in this game would eventually become his Fire Flower ability. One of the highlights of the game is the level design. Granted, there's not a whole lot of variety given that this game was kind of one of the first of its kind, but it was pretty impressive at the time. There's standard platforming levels in which you hop across the tops of giant mushrooms, underground levels, underwater levels where you have to swim around cheap loopers and pits that suck you in, and bridge levels, or as I like to call them.
By the way, you can use the Fire Flower underwater to destroy said enemies. Who said there was logic in a video game? The 4th level of each world is a castle level in which you have to traverse obstacles with little to no power-ups to find. Some of them can be gauntlets in which you have to follow the correct path in order to move on, or the stage will loop. At the end of each level, you run into Bowser, or rather one of his clones. He can be defeated via Axe or the Fire Flower. After defeating a clone, Toad will remind you that the princess is in another castle, which you'll be seeing a total of 7 times. Why can't one of the Toads be a traitor or something?
Thank you, Mario, but I killed the princess!
How dare you murder a princess?
In the World 8 castle, you defeat the real Bowser and save Princess Peach. Then she offers you a new, harder playthrough.
It's pretty much the same game as before, except the Goombas are now Buzzy Beetles, and they move a little faster. Oh, and there's a level select. That's pretty cool. Graphically, it looks amazing for an 8-bit game, and certainly revolutionary at the time, with environments matching the tone of the levels. Same goes with the music, including the very catchy overworld theme, which would end up being Mario's main theme. With Super Mario Bros. Being a huge success, it's no surprise that a sequel will be in the works. So with that said, let's move on to Super Mario Bros. 2...
The Lost Levels!
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, before the Super Mario Bros. 2 we know today, there was a sequel released in Japan for the Famicom Disk System. Nintendo decided against releasing it in North America as well as Europe because it was too difficult. Nowadays, this sequel is available everywhere and is known as The Lost Levels.
Alright, I guess we can talk about that game.
Oh boy, here we go.
Well, we haven't started the game yet, and already there's an enemy on the screen. We're in for a treat here, folks. But unlike the previous game, it's one player only, hence the Luigi game option. But if you want this game to be even more difficult, then by all means play as Luigi. Although when I played this game, playing as Luigi was easier in my opinion.
Aside from that, graphically and in terms of play control, it's not that different from the first game. So if you're familiar with that, you should at least be semi-comfortable here. The only big difference is that the ground looks more like dirt and the clouds all have little smiley faces on them. Yeah, they know. They know.
Plus there's a drop shadow making the text easier to read. While there's no new enemies in this game, we do get variations of old enemies like red piranha plants, although standing on top of the piranha plants makes them not pop out. How odd. There's also bullet bills in the previous game, hammer brothers that come towards you, and poison mushrooms that... Wait, what? I thought poison mushrooms make you smaller than normal, not kill you. Okay, technically they act as enemies in this game, so avoid them at all costs. And we're not kidding. This game is challenging as all get out. We have wind, we have obstacles, we have terrible level design. How am I supposed to make that jump? Oh, invisible blocks. Well, that's nice. Oh, and remember those secret warp zones from the previous game? Some of them can move you forward, but other times... What? It sends me back? Whoever came up with this game is literally a madman.
Ever see one of those Kaizo ROM hacks or one of those ridiculous Mario Maker stages? That's what playing Lost Levels feels like.
That's what it feels like? It's literally Mario Maker before Mario Maker became a thing. Fun fact, the game was intentionally made for those who have mastered the original Super Mario Bros. Don't believe me? The Game Boy version is literally called Super Mario Bros. For Super Players. It does feel and play like Mario, but the level design proves otherwise because of said difficulty. If you get a game over in this game, and trust me you will, you're then booted back to the world you died in. Which is thankfully more forgiving than the previous game because getting game over in that boots you all the way back to the beginning. I hear that you can also traverse through worlds A through E after beating the game, which none of us have done yet. Why? Because you have to beat the game 8 times in a row before doing so. That's something I'll never do even if my life depended on it. With the game being this difficult, it's no wonder why it got released anywhere else. But everybody wanted a sequel, hence Super Mario Bros. 2 USA was released, and coincidentally, this game is not an original Mario game.
Enter a Famicom Disk game called Doki Doki Panic. Originally developed as a collaboration with Fuji Television, Nintendo made the decision to replace Fuji's characters with Mario and friends and make this game into Super Mario Bros. 2 outside of Japan.
But instead of Bowser, the main baddie in this game is Wart, or Mamu in Japan. Surprisingly, this game has a storyline. When Mario opened a door after climbing a long stair in his dream, another world spread before him, and he heard a voice call for help to be freed from a spell.
Hey, listen!
Not you! After awakening, Mario went to a cave nearby, and to his surprise, he saw exactly what he saw in his dream. Nah, it just tells you to push the start button. Before starting each level, you can choose one of 4 characters. First is Mario with his standard moveset, Luigi with his floaty jump ability, which at times can be a bit troublesome. Toad, being the fastest and strongest out of the bunch, can let you pick up stuff faster, so use him in levels that involve sand, but more on that later. And finally there's Peach, who snatches at this game like a twig. Despite being the weakest out of the bunch, she literally has the ability to fly. Well, more like hovering for a few seconds, but still a useful ability.
So the game starts off by quite literally dropping you into the land of Subcon. Unlike in the first game where you could beat enemies by stomping on them, now you pick them up and toss them at other enemies. Either that or throw vegetables at them.
By the way, some of these enemies would later be seen in future Mario games, such as Shy Guys, Pokies, and even bombs. Speaking of which, you can also pick up bombs to break through rocks and even one-up mushrooms for an extra life. Finally, you can pick up potions that reveal a door to the subspace, where you can grab coins and a mushroom for a health boost for the remainder of the stage if you're lucky. And here's a little speedrunning trick. By placing the door near a certain jar, you can visit subspace and warp to another world via warp zone. Nice!
At the end of each level, you run into a Birdo. You defeat her by throwing the egg she spits out back at her. Then you pick up a crystal to open the gateway to the next level. Don't ask me why it's a statue of a bird's face. I really don't know. There's more variety in the level theming this time around too. Alongside the standard grass level, there's levels themed around ice, palaces, even a desert.
And what are Worlds 2 and 6 like, you may ask? Well, as a wise man once said, in the words of Anakin Skywalker,
it's coarse and rough and irritating.
And it gets everywhere. The third level of each world has a big boss to defeat as well, offering some decent boss variety.
Well, except for World 7, which has 2 worlds instead of 3.
There's Mouser, a mouse that throws bombs at you, Triclide, a 3-headed snake, Cloglip, a crab who throws rocks, Fry Guy, a sentient fireball, and finally, Wart.
Surprisingly, you fight Mouser and Triclide twice. But in the original Doki Doki Panic, you instead fight Mouser for a 3rd time instead of Cloglip. Did they really think Mouser was a fan favorite? After almost 40 years, who here actually remembers Mouser?
I remember Mouser.
well, you don't ca- Wait, Hux? What are you doing here?
Oh, sorry, dude. I was wondering if... Gamer? What are you wearing?
What? Oh! It's a certain month of theme.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell, we were talking about Mario.
Oh, now I get it. Well, I must say, it does look good on you.
Well, thanks, Hux.
No problem, Gamer. Anyway, I should probably get going. Later, dudes!
By the way, did I mention that some of these levels have a case of Pac-Man syndrome? Well, one of these cases includes Fry Guy. When you think it's over, Fry Guy shrinks down to 4 smaller versions of himself. Each time you defeat one, they move faster and harder to defeat, which ultimately we do. Oh boy, let's talk about Wart, after you defeated Possessed Birdhead.
Wart is some kind of gigantic frog who spits bubbles. Yeah, I can see why this guy never came back.
Also, bubbles as projectiles, clearly ripped off from Mickey Mouse Capade by over 4 months.
To beat him, you have to catch the vegetables from this giant machine in the middle of Wart's throne room and throw them in his mouth, which causes him to choke. Always chew your food, kids.
Wait, what was that?
This dream machine giving Wart's power is how Mario defeats Wart? Seriously? Why even have it in the first place? No wonder why he never came back in any future games. And don't tell me he came back in Link's Awakening. It doesn't count.
With Wart defeated, everyone in Subcon is saved as Wart gets sent to rejected characters we never see again world, and we see Mario asleep in bed. Then he wakes up. I'm not exactly sure what this means, whether this whole story was just a dream or if Mario got sent back to his bed or something.
Ladies and gentlemen, Super Mario Bros. Made by Disney.
But hey, the game's fun, so who cares?
At last we have the final game from the NES, Super Mario Bros. 3. And it was all thanks to a theatrical release commercial in 1989 known as The Wizard.
I think without this movie, we probably wouldn't have had Nintendo World Championships, or even E3 for that matter. I'm sure most of the widely known gaming events were inspired by this very movie. But anyway, onto the game itself.
Super Mario Bros. 3 is considered by many to be the best Mario game of all time, and it sure does a lot to earn that reputation. It took everything that made the original Super Mario Bros. Fun and supercharged it. Smoother controls, 8 brand new worlds, new enemies,
Like the sun itself.
new bosses. This was the epic follow-up we all hoped for.
For the first time, each world has a map that not only shows all the levels, but also some extra locations for more goodies. First there's mushroom houses that grant you another power to help you progress through the game. Then there's spade houses that include matching cards and slot machines that may earn you extra lives if you're lucky. Finally there's hammer bows in which defeating it earns you another power up like a Starman, or even a hammer that allows you to break through rocks. With this you can either skip levels or explore more of the map. Speaking of which, Mario can obtain a flute that transports you to a warp zone. With 2 flutes you can actually warp your way to World 8.
Similar to Mario 2 USA, each world has its own theme. There's Grassland, Desertland, Waterland, Giantland, Skyland, Iceland, Pipeland, and Darkland. The goal is to save each world's king from an invading Koopa Kid. Oh yeah, this game introduced Bowser's 7 underlings, the Koopalings, or Koopa Kids if you prefer. Whether or not they're actually Bowser's kids, I really don't know.
At the end of each level, you get a card by headbutting into it. Collecting 3 cards earns you 1 life. But you can also earn more extra lives by collecting 3 of a kind, with the best results being 3 Starman cards. By the way, there are 3 types of levels first introduced in this game. First there's auto-scrolling levels where you have to constantly keep up while the level is moving. Then there's fortress levels in which you traverse through obstacles and defeat Boom Boom to explore more of the world map. Finally there's airship levels, which mostly happen before boss battles. There are auto-scrolling levels with random difficulty with cannonballs and bullet bills among others. Oh, and before moving on, Toad tells Mario that the kings have been transformed into creatures, one of them being a duck hunt dog.
At the end of each airship, you fight one of the Koopalings. There's Larry, Morton, Wendy, Iggy, Roy, Lemmy, and Ludwig.
Von Drake?
No.
Bless me bagpipes! Would it be possible to own Nintendo?
Don't you even think about it, Scrooge. The last thing we need at this point is for Disney to own everything.
You do bring up a good point.
After defeating one of the Koopalings, you retrieve a scepter, transforming the king back to its normal self. Why does this guy look like Mario? But you then receive a letter from Princess Peach, which includes another power-up to add to your stash.
Speaking of which, we haven't even talked about the power-ups yet, so let's quickly go over them. In addition to the mushroom and fire flower, as well as the hammer and flute I previously mentioned, there's a super leaf making him Raccoon Mario, allowing him to fall slowly and even fly while running at top speed via P-meter. Also there's the frog suit, the Tanuki suit, and the Hammer Bros suit. Out of all the power-ups in this game, I actually like the P-wing the most because it'll let you cheese your way through the difficult levels by spamming the jump button multiple times.
After conquering all the worlds and saving all the kings, you finally come face to face with Bowser once again. This time he's a bit tougher. What you have to do is make him break the floor beneath you by slamming into it. Once the Koopa King falls to the depths below, you save Princess Peach yet again.
Wait, what? Oh phew, I was worried for a moment. Like the original Super Mario Bros., you can have a buddy join you for some multiplayer, whether it's co-op or by beating each other up in a Mario Bros. Style level. With this, you can take the other player's cards as well as their turn. Basically, your buddy may or may not be trusted.
And with that, we finally finished the Mario games on the NES. I hope you enjoyed it because
We're finishing it off with Super Mario All-Stars for the Super NES. Yep, we made a jump from 8-bit to 16-bit in one video.
Without saying much, Super Mario All-Stars lets you play the classic NES titles in 16-bit. Let me just say right now that this, in my opinion, is the preferred way to play the NES titles. It's because of one reason and one reason only. Each game has a save feature making them all more reliable than it needs to be.
Not only that, but little things have been changed too. Luigi looks a bit more like Luigi instead of just being a green Mario, and all the kings in Super Mario Bros. 3 have completely different transformations, all references to other games.
Whew! 5 games in one video? That's gotta be a record. But I can understand why, because I'm pretty sure everyone's talked about them at this point. But as for the games themselves, I think most of them still hold up even to this day.
I 100% agree.
The classic Mario games have aged wonderfully in my opinion. They're not flawless, but they're close. I can pick up these games and play them anytime, and for a game to still be as fun almost 40 years later as the day it came out is quite an accomplishment. The original game laid a great foundation for 2 and 3 to build on. Lost Levels I don't really recommend because of its insane difficulty. Mario 2 USA is definitely a much friendlier game with its simpler ideas. Mario 3, I think, is the best of the classics. If you can pick one Mario game to start with, pick 3.
The NES titles are definitely classics in their own right. Challenging, yes, but they're still fun to play. The original Super Mario Bros. Is by all means a textbook example of what a video game is supposed to be, with catchy music, intriguing level design, obstacles and enemies to defeat, and of course, Mario. Certainly laid the ground rules of what a Mario game should be like. The Lost Levels is definitely a title that I would not recommend because of the exponential difficulty spike and the level design is all over the place. Super Mario Bros. 2 USA, while based on another Famicom game, is definitely the sequel that every Mario fan deserved with one or two minor problems. Out of all of them, Super Mario Bros. 3 is definitely the best Mario game on the NES library. It has everything needed for a Mario game and would later become the foundation of what future Mario games would be like. But if playing them on the NES isn't your cup of tea, then definitely play the All-Stars port. The save feature really helps a whole lot, providing a fun experience for all gamers. So for those who haven't already, like myself, then try playing a classic Mario game. Trust me, it has pleased lots of gamers for multiple generations.
But we're just getting started. There's still lots more Mario to cover. So next time we meet, we continue our 16-bit journey with Super Mario World for the Super NES.
This is just gonna keep getting better, isn't it?
Indeed.
I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer, and I wish you all good luck for the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone.
Hey dudes, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon.
And make sure you follow us on social media. Video commission is available. And now, I wish a character buddy would end off the video right now.
Hey there, folks. It's me, Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog. If you liked what you saw and want to help support the channel, then be sure to check out the Fairly Odd Gamer on Patreon. As a supporter, you can chat with everyone who helped out, as well as other fans, have your name in the credits, and even watch some bonus content such as sneak peeks and even early showings of upcoming game reviews. With that said, it's my honor to present this month's shout out to Luke Jeffers. Thanks a bunch for watching this video, as well as supporting the channel.